People are attending events because, yes, they want to learn from the experts, but they also want to learn from each other. They're struggling with their own challenges, with their own, thoughts. I mean, I do that with a lot of the stuff with events. Nobody has this figured out. You're gathering people, have fun with it. You're going to make mistakes. No event is going to be perfect. And just be willing to take those risks, because more people are more forgiving if they see that you're trying new things versus just doing the same thing year after year.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Keynote Curators podcast. I'm Seth Deckman, your Keynote Curator. On our podcast, this is where we explore the minds of thought leaders and industry trailblazers. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome one of the industry trailblazers and thought leaders, Courtney Mesmer. Courtney, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored and thrilled to be here.
I know, when we've worked together, I know that your passion lies in transforming events into these live experiences that bring forth, the emotion and the change and really this unique magic that can't be replicated by any other marketing channel. I'd like you, for our listeners who, are meeting professionals, speakers, business owners, and a shout out to them for coming and thanking them for being here, and first timers, welcome. Like us, love us, subscribe. But this magic, Courtney, that, this builds these strong brands, how do you leverage that for the attendees' experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I will preface the question by saying that my background has primarily been in association events. I've been in the association event world for longer than I care to mention. And really what I have seen over my years is that events just have this unmatched power, to immerse people in their brand story and creating these emotional connections that no other marketing channel can. And when you think back to association world, 20 some years ago, there really wasn't a lot of emotion in events. It was, as I recall, butts and seats, panel presentation, sage on the stage. And as the world has evolved, technology has come in, people are really wanting to feel this emotional connection. I always kind of thinking about the memories that stood out to me to events that I attended 5, 10, 15 years ago. Could be a personal, could be a professional. But the moments that you remember is the moments that you felt something, whether that was excitement, whether that was surprise and delight, whether that was, feeling special, feeling important. And so, really it's this emotional connection, and you can't do that through a screen. You can't do that on paper. And so I'm passionate about that. Planners and organizations need to be thinking about this. And I 100% believe that you don't need to do this that you can do this on a shoestring budget. You don't have to have massive amounts of money to do this. And as long as that you are creative, a kick-ass trailblazer, that you'll figure it out and you can really connect that live experience to evoke motion and change that events, I feel, have the power to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of clarity in what you say. It seems like you're just very standing on top of this, putting on an live event that brings that magic. There's a lot of complexity to it. The base is simple. You want to provide people an experience where they feel something important. And like you said, it could be just excited, happy. It also could be having the experience of transforming their know-how, their professional capacity, but something that they can take away. And standing on top of that as you lead your team is simple, yet a very strong foundation. You've been recognized for your work as a Changemaker by meetings.net, and you've been nominated for Meeting Professional of the Year by Smart Meetings. So you have the cachet, but I know that you get under the hood and you get into really the details. You are always looking for fresh perspectives. Having implemented changes between like TED Talk styles and fireside chats to address attendees' attention spans, or bringing in any type of innovative technique that you can draw people in and capture their attention. How do you keep up with that? Because, the attention spans get more reduced. There's more shiny objects in the room and at events. what is your approach to that?
I think one of my big things is that I actually go out and I attend events. I would participate in events, both professional and personal, to really have that end user experience. So whether that is a speaker, whether that is an exhibitor, whether that's a participant, I think it really creates a lot of aha moments, because a lot of times from the planner seat, you don't get that perspective. But when you are immersed in it, it really is very eye-opening. I recall two stories. One, I was at an event. I was really interested in the material. They were talking about like the future of events. And 20 minutes in, I started looking at my watch and I started thinking about, let me check my email. Even though I was fascinated in the material. So that kind of gave me a little bit of an aha that, okay, if I'm doing this and this is even content that I'm interested in, others have to be doing it as well. And then last year, I had the opportunity to speak at PCMA about some of the transformations that we did at our conferences. And so I think for years, speakers have been asking me about confidence monitors. And I kind of laughed and I was like, you don't need a confidence monitor, you're fine. Well, after going through that speaking experience, you best believe that every single education session had a confidence monitor this year because, I see it. This is when for associations, a lot of speakers are not getting paid. They're doing this in their free time. They're not going to memorize their speech. So I think once you put yourself in that end user, it kind of opens up your eyes and how you need to design for the meeting for that experience.
Courtney, that is a really powerful, rich insight, because I attend a lot of meetings, and I think after listening to your comment, it just is so obvious. It might even be a kind of a diet aha moment for me, literally right now on the podcast. But I inhabit so much micro details of what meeting professionals are looking for, or you can say sound check or rehearsal. Maybe it's not a rehearsal. It's just checking out the stage and learning the AV crew and what they're going to wear to put the microphone on. All these details take time, but how each group, each event, each team operates differently. There's and the broader experience that I have bringing speakers in, but attending the events, I'm just by osmosis, naturally, by omission, inhabiting and learning and capturing all of these ideas. And, not that they're soliciting it, but an event professional like you, I might be able to contribute and just say, hey, I've seen this work really well. I don't know if it works for your group, but this might be something that we could try here, and it might optimize the experience a little bit. Do you then take those learnings and immediately apply them to your team, or do you borrow part of it? How do you then adapt what you do and go out at these events?
Yeah, no, great question. I think it really kind of depends on the level of implementation. So, if we're really trying to change everything, I think that might take a longer journey, and it might be, we want to get to here. And so what can we do for this event? What can we do for the next event in order to get there in a couple of years versus, it's easy to add a confidence monitor. And also too, I think testing out things. You don't have to go all the way. So, I'm even thinking about things like registration. Yes, some people want to go up, they want to talk to people, but you think about an airport. You have both options. You can go to a kiosk, you can print out your boarding pass, or you can go to somebody and you can talk to them. Can we bring that into our next event? So those are kind of things that we're starting to explore, where I think that you're not getting away from what you do, but you're starting to evolve and you're starting to try new things to see if that resonates with attendees or not.
Right. And what you borrow or what you see might not be an exact perfect fit for your group or the group that you're serving, but a piece of it, an element of it might, you might be able to borrow and fold in, always keeping the attendee in mind. Why do I, as your keynote curator, attend meetings? It's because I learned so much, not just about my specific client for the meeting that I attend, but about the industry in general. All the machinations of how to serve an attendee, how to serve the client, and how to serve the speaker. Every event I go to is unique, has its unique magic, its unique spark, and its unique learnings. So for me, not only attending to serve my clients, serve the speaker, but it's also professional development. This is why I'm there, to be your extra eyes, hands, and ears, and be part of your team while I'm on site, but also learning so that I can share and take from one event to another and have our professional community expand our capacities together. One of the things that's near and dear to me, and I know near and dear to you, is this whole idea of the inner work movement, working on ourselves, and this 360-degree harmony. Some call it work-life balance. That sounds like a little bit of an antiquated concept, but the harmony and how the yin and yang of it all works together. There's messages of self-discovery, acceptance, personal growth, authenticity. We see these words, transformative language everywhere. The quote, "The only way out is through," has been a guiding principle for you. Share a specific challenge in your event planning career, or even your personal life, if you prefer, if you care to, where this mindset led to a rewarding, a transformative, and expansive outcome.
Absolutely. So that definitely is one mantra that I use. And I also couple it with sometimes it works and sometimes we grow. And actually, these are two guiding principles in my department at my current organization, because not every decision is going to work. Not every decision is going to be easy. And by reminding people of it daily, it really gives permission to screw up, but we're also going to learn from it. It also feels hard too. It feels uncomfortable. And sometimes you have to remind yourself that the only way out is through. Keep pushing forward, one foot in front of the other. I also share with my team a lot, we're right where we need to be. And either it's going to work or we're going to grow from it. So some examples of where this philosophy, or I would say guiding principles, have come in is example when I was with my current organization, coming right on board for their 2022 meeting. Their show floor did not have a lot of energy. Just imagine rows of pipe and drape. People just didn't really want to go in there. So we actually ended up moving the main stage onto the show floor. I kept kind of explaining to people, this is going to give people, it's going to bring in more energy. It gives them a reason to be there. People looked at me like I had 8 heads because, again, this was different. They'd never heard of it before. Yeah, only 8 for this one, I want to say. But I kept just kind of even telling myself either this was going to work or we were going to grow from it. And thankfully, it worked really well. But I think especially as I shared before, my background has been in associations. Change is really hard. And so you have to have the confidence and conviction that you have to start evolving. You have to start trying new things, because if you don't, you're not going to survive. And so with these two guiding principles, I think that it helps just reinforce, when things get hard. You're right where you need to be. The only way out's through. So let's get through it. And also too, sometimes it works, sometimes we'll grow. There's been a lot of growing over the past, I want to say probably 10 years of my career. We've tried a lot of new things, and sometimes it has worked and sometimes we evolve it. So I think the big thing is that you have to remember you're gathering people, have fun with it. You're going to make mistakes. No event is going to be perfect. And just be willing to take those risks, because more people are more forgiving if they see that you're trying new things versus just doing the same thing year after year.
Again, I just such a rich comment. What I'm hearing is, and dial me in if I'm wrong here, if I'm not hearing it as you want it to be heard, is hey, look, growth is hard, progress is hard, change is hard. It doesn't come at a cost. You have to leave certain things behind. But if there's a context or a framework of whatever the outcome, we're growing and learning, it gives a little bit of grace to the space, gives a little bit of humanity, not like coming in draconian, we're going to change and it's this way and we're moving the general session stage here and get over it because it's not working. And to have that caveat or that, kind of mindset where, hey, the only way to the other side is through it. I'm hacking your phrase, but we're either gonna succeed or learn from it. It's not like a justifying, oh, it didn't work out, but we learned something. But really, it's moving the ball forward. Words matter, Courtney. You know this. You deal with language and speakers all the time. Words matter. But words are thrown around a lot, authenticity, well-being, all this stuff. But what I love is that your guardrails, your guidelines, your core virtue, this mindset, this mantra is being deployed. So that's not just
Yeah.
words, they're being in action. And, the
Correctly.
results,
Yeah.
I think the accolades are the cherry on top, but really it's what the attendees get, what your team has experienced, and really the organization has formed and grown around this guiding principle. So bravo to you.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I think, by having those guiding principles as well with the team, it allows them permission to suggest new things, to try new things,
That's right.
to be uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, you kind of have to start at that level and saying not every event is going to be perfect, but what can we try? What can we learn? What can we grow from it? And sometimes too, it works.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Great.
Yeah.
Grow. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think also one of the key takeaways here is the intention, right? It may hit a 9 out of 10. It might be a bullseye. It might be a 6.5 out of 10. But if the intention is there, all right, what did we accomplish that was new? What can we do? Didn't work as well as we would have liked it to, and keep pushing that ball in the direction that you want it to go. So and sometimes it just does work.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't. There's been many things where it's like, nope, that did not work and we will not be doing it again. But there was always some sort of learning out of it as well.
All right, we shift gears a little bit here related to this, but I've read in past articles where you've mentioned finding inspiration, in a variety of ways. Talk about how you maintain the creativity in an industry which is so fast paced, so fast moving, change is constant, and the challenge is to find the ideas and then implement them. How do you do that? How do you maintain that?
Yeah, no, great question. I think two kind of sources, and actually I don't really get them more from the professional side. I get them more from the personal side. So I'm an avid reader. I always read what I call 10 pages of a smart book every day before I can read anything else. So those are professional development, self-development, kind of creativity. So I think that really helps kind of understand where, communities are going or what's kind of trending right now. Also, to kind of staying curious and open to inspiration just from everyday experiences. I travel a lot. I love the art. I love a good wine and food pairing. And you kind of dig a little bit deeper to that. And that's because a lot of those experiences, they're evoking emotion. They're evoking a surprise and delight. They're evoking, something special. So I think really kind of pulling that out. One of the things that I always say is going to an event is, can cause anxiety, you're in a different environment. So why are we trying to change people's everyday environment with what they're used to? We're used to being on LinkedIn and them telling us who we should meet. We're used to shopping and they're telling us that here's what you should buy based on your purchases. We have to start bringing that into events so that people feel comfortable there and that they're not using their brain power on those things of those change. They're using their brain power on learning something new, meeting somebody new. So I think that that's really something that I'm very passionate about, is bringing in a lot of what you see in everyday life and the trends that are happening and making sure that is being weaved throughout in events as well.
Yeah. Again, I think we're creating a through line here, Courtney, a somewhat complex idea. How do you sculpt away some of the swirl and noise that's low-hanging fruit that can be managed in some very quick, efficient, almost invisible way, to then have that space that was occupied by the gray matter focus on what's important, whether it's connecting with people, going to a great session, or just being at the event in the city and getting inspiration from that. And it sounds simple, but there's a lot of thought and intention behind it. I love that. And who doesn't love?
Yeah. Oh no, and I was going to say, and kind of building upon that, going back to your earlier question, we live in a society where, things mean different things to everybody. Wellness means something different to everybody. So it can't be a one size fits all. So how do you helped also to design an experience that speaks to multiple different individuals. So health and wellness might be, or well-being might be, I can be in a quiet room, or I can be doing, something artistic. I can be doing, mingling with people. So I think that that's also too, that people, or especially planners, that they need to realize that it can't be a one size fits all for these types of events.
Totally. I just got back from an event yesterday, and it was up in the province of Alberta, north of
Yeah.
Calgary. Fantastic event. I know you've worked in financial services, and it's a little bit different than your previous organization and the one now, where they go out to these really remote,
Mhm.
incredibly beautiful places. What struck me at this event, that I've seen the transformation, because I've been attending and providing keynote speakers for this event for the last 15 years, maybe 16 years, I think. There was the middle day. It was a three night event. No meetings, no panel discussions, no breakout sessions, no CEO, no keynote speaker. I'm not saying it's totally new right now, but it's something that's been
It's
occupying
trending.
meetings where attendees have been asking for more time. As a meeting professional, I see them. We have to provide content. We have to provide value. And we got to put a
Yep.
panel in, or at least before breakfast, before they go off and scuba dive, or play golf, or go on a walk in the woods or something. We have to, take care of a sponsor that has a session or something like that. I've seen meeting planners holding on to that and then slowly letting
Yep.
go, right? But I'm going to land this
Well,
plane in a minute. Go ahead. What were you going to
okay.
say?
Yeah. Because I have, well, and that's always like, it goes back to the very beginning of our conversation. You have to go out and experience it.
That's right.
Because if you sit in a conference and you are back to back, you are done by 3:34. You do not want to go to another session.
Right.
You just, you're either
Right.
tired, you need to recharge, you need to check your email
Yeah.
because this isn't vacation.
Yeah.
So I think, again, that kind of goes back to, I love that they're doing
Yeah.
that, but sorry,
No,
didn't
no, no.
interrupt.
It's totally in line with, and I heard you, and I kept going. It's exactly right. And you want the event to be an experience that's regenerative, dare I say educational, dare I say transformative, meaningful connections, all these ideas that meeting professionals really glom onto in the positive sense of the word. 14, 15, 16 years at this event, the evening event, which everybody did come back together. There was a small local band, and there was the local cuisine and everything. I had never seen a spark and a glow and a burst of energy from some people. Stayed on property, went to the spa, hung out, and just looked at the beautiful surroundings. Some went and went fishing. Some went bike riding. It was almost like this liberation of energy. But I'm going to land the plane because I want to take it one step further. Event professionals really grab onto the word, and we've heard it from guests here. Annette Gregg, who now is at Society of Incentive Travel Excellence,
Mhm.
or Jesse States, who's at Meeting Professionals, or Julius Solaris. So many of the meeting professional industry leaders like you, Courtney, use the word experience.
Yep.
And my caution here, I don't know if it's a caution, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And I have said this
Mhm.
before with other guests. Is it just the experience to go out and say that I was in the Canadian Rockies fly fishing, and you can go back at the evening cocktail and show your pictures, and that's it, and move on? Or is it what it took for you to have that experience, the producing at the level where you came on this incentive trip or were rewarded for your efforts? You've never fished in your life before. You had to overcome all these personal anxieties and fears. You're more of an introvert to go out into a group. You met people that you never would have met before. I think that those, while I'm going to use the word ancillary, or those products of having the experience, is really what it's about, and not the experience. It's like the experience is the vehicle, but really what
Yeah.
you get it by doing the experience is really the reward. Does that communicate?
Yeah, I think that it definitely does. And I think what it comes down to is, how you're designing it, because you can design an experience wherever. I feel, it could be in your backyard, or it could be, as you said, in this experience in Canada, and realizing that not everyone is going to want to enjoy that same fly fishing experience. But at the end of the day, again, it comes back to, evoking some emotion, that's going to evoke some change. So that emotion could be too that they attended this event and they felt special, or that they got a taste of the city. I think a lot of events, people think that travel can be so glamorous, but really, you're in, you're out, you see the airport, you see the hotel, you see the other people of your thing. So I think that, I really challenge planners, and I've even been doing that like myself. So how can we bring that experience of that city that they're in within the event?
Yeah.
And it, again, like it doesn't have to be huge. We were just in Cincinnati last year, and for our happy hour, they're known for their craft beer and their whiskey. So we did a beer and wine pair. We did a beer and food pairing tasting, but we also had non-alcoholic options too. So like, it was kind of cool that people could go, they could taste these pairings like around the hall, and they could talk about it to people too. Oh, I really like that taste. Oh, I really like that bite with it. Oh, it changed, when I tasted it together. Oh, I really don't drink. I'm going to try this one. So, again, like it evokes something where it's like, you feel cool because you're trying something different. You can talk about it with other people. So I think that it just kind of goes down to, again, that experience. You can create it anywhere. It's really how you design it as well to have that experience.
Yeah, I agree. And, that's where the art of the design and putting yourself in their shoes and attending all these events comes. We're almost coming to the end. I have one other idea I'd love for you to elaborate on, coming back to the meetings and the formats. What are some of your favorite interactive elements, and how have you seen that impact learning and networking?
Yeah. We have been really pushing the envelope, especially in our smaller events, and doing unique things, because a lot of times people are going to events.
Courtney, when you say smaller, what size are you talking about?
Great question. Sorry. Smaller events, I would say like 100, 150.
Sure.
A lot of times when people go, they don't know anyone, or that they maybe not know anyone in their local community, because these are more on the local base. So our most recent event, we held it at the zoo, and we actually had people sign up for different lunches. What was your preference for lunch? Was it, I wanted salad, or I wanted the barbecue, or I wanted this. And then we actually paired sponsors, and they went out in the zoo and they had lunch together, and they walked around and they did some cool things. And people said, you know what? I loved it because I met somebody that I never would have met in any other context.
Right.
Also too, we've been experimenting a lot with the spontaneous think tanks, with the unconference. People are attending events because, yes, they want to learn from the experts, but they also want to learn from each other. They're struggling with their own challenges, with their own, thoughts. I mean, I do that with a lot of the stuff with events. Nobody has this figured out. So it's really beneficial when I can talk to somebody or hear what other people are doing versus just listening to the speakers on the stage. So we've been very intentional about having some more of that peer-to-peer, having people be able to contribute to the conversation, feeling like that they're a part of it versus just being told what to do. So I've really seen that, because yes, there is an element, content will never go away, but I think how people receive that content needs to be, delivered differently throughout each event.
Again, what also strikes me is, not everybody's an extrovert, not everybody's an introvert. What I'm learning through this podcast is most of us are ambiverts. I was taught by my father at a very young age, square your hips, extend your hand, look them, make eye contact, hold eye contact, and say, I'm Seth Deckman, nice to meet you. Not everybody does that. And when you don't have the propensity or the way of being to do that, and you go into these events, you can become a wallflower. That then occupies our mind, our gray matter, right? And then we're distracted and not maximizing having these meaningful connections or experiencing the city we're in or what the event has created and designed for us. So great idea, whether it's the zoo or another background or ambiance. It's just really, really cool, because now you've taken that stress, that anxiety out of people, and have them let them be more free to be, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, one of our most popular activations, which again, I will be the first one to say I was not thrilled with the idea, but I was, empowered my team. They were very passionate about it. We had a friendship bracelet station that was in our well-being area. And actually, it was packed the entire time. But thinking about it afterwards, you weren't there unless if you wanted to be there.
Right.
You were able to create authentic conversations. Oh, who are you making a bracelet for?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
where do you live? What do you do? People said that they had more fun there and met more contacts because, again, that like-mindedness. It was, you're kind of doing something and you're all there together for a reason. So, it was really cool. Now, again, I don't think that would go well in some of my financial, conferences. Like you have to know your audience.
Sure.
But this really worked well with our audience, and we're definitely expanding upon it next year.
All three of my daughters go to summer camp and sleepaway camp, and literally they come in, get dropped off. Once they put their stuff in the bunk, first thing they do is a friendship bracelet. It's
I love it.
in the first 23 minutes of the summer, and they literally come back and they haven't taken them off, and it's really, really cool.
We had people wearing them all over. Yeah. We're actually this year, we're thinking that we're going to do, because again, my group is primarily, women, that we're actually going to do a nail bar, and that people can do their color based on like what kind of areas that they're in. So people can see like you're in compensation. So like you can do like red, or that if you did different colors. So again, just kind of something fun. And then another way to identify, we have a like-minded connection, versus having the million ribbons that people have.
It's really cool. That's great, because visually, again, if you're an introvert, you kind of see the nails, and you're still making that connection, but it's visual. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of our conversation. I think we left a little bit on the table. I'd love to know how the journey continues with your professional career. And it's just been so cool to connect with you here, not only booking keynote speakers with you, but for our community. It's been a great conversation. Again, those of you out there returning and listening, thank you. Your first timers, really appreciate it. Courtney, we're all busy building, planning, personal, professional life, working on ourselves, working on our professional, toolbox. So just thank you for taking the time out and being so thoughtful in your responses, and just making this conversation rich and available to our community so everybody could benefit from it. So just thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really had fun doing this, and hope to continue the conversation.
We sure will. And again, we appreciate you joining us on the Keynote Curators podcast. See you next time.